Welcome to Moxie Uncut. I'm your host, Jenny Nuccio, social entrepreneur, designer, innovator, and founder of Amani Collective. This season is all about reset. Real stories, the ones that don't make it into the captions. Failure, pivots, burnouts, heartbreaks, and the quiet courage to just begin again. Each week, I sit down with entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers that are building with purpose. We talk about the resets that shaped them, the lessons that they learned the hard way, and the strength that found them on the other side. If you're in a season of rebuilding or redesigning, you're not alone. You're right where you need to be. So let's dig in. Welcome to Moxie Uncut, the reset season. This season is all about rebuild, the pivot, and restructuring, the internal shifts that happen when we change not just how we build, but also sometimes who we are. Reset is not failure. It is refinement, it's recalibration, and it's rebuilding with wisdom. Here we talk about real stories. We talk about the pressure, the lessons, the resilience, and the strength that comes from the other side. So welcome to Moxie Uncut.
Thank you.
I'm so excited you're here. And so before we get into just what reset means, how about you let our guests know a little bit just who you are? I always like phrasing, what are you best known for? So Sham, why don't you tell the Moxie Uncut audience who you are?
Sure. Thanks, Jenny, for having me. I'm Sham, and I am the founder of Travel for Purpose. Is probably what I'm most known for. And yeah, Travel for Purpose is a positive impact, sustainable travel company. We organize experiences around Kenya and ensure that travel is done more ethically within Kenya. Beyond Travel for Purpose, I'm 30 years old. I was born in Mombasa, and Mombasa's home where you now live. And now I live in Nairobi, but a huge passion of mine is, there's so many. I love nature. I love hiking. I love reading, trying different recipes.
You're very multifaceted. Yeah, I think that's why we get along so well, because we're like, I'm sure if we actually sat down for a proper coffee, which we'll get into this podcast. So this is the first time we're meeting in person, but have known each other for years.
We would go on for hours.
For sure. For sure. I'm like, we could have multiple podcast conversations about, okay, let's just talk about food. Let's talk about places to visit. Yes, we would go on for hours. Okay, before we start, I love doing, it is called the quick cut. So it's going to be just like 5 rapid fire questions, like if this or that. Are you ready?
Done. Let's go.
Okay. So coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Big vision or detailed executor?
Big vision with detailed execution.
You're not the first person who's like put it together. Okay. Morning person or night builder?
Morning person.
Are you a risk taker or calculated?
Calculated.
Okay. And then what's one small habit that keeps you grounded?
My son's salutations every morning.
Oh, that's good. I love that. Okay. So I'm, again, grateful for you to be here. And I want to just start with how you would define reset in your life.
Okay. That's a big question.
I know, but it's okay. We can start somewhere and then dive deeper into it.
Okay. Reset. I think the biggest reset that I've had is actually starting Travel for Purpose. I was in the fintech scene in the UK. So I did some of my studies in the UK and then graduated and went straight into the big bad finance world. And I was working in a 30-story building in the headquarters, very much corporate day-to-day lifestyle. And it just wasn't clicking. I was like, there has to be something more out there. So as I was traveling and I came to visit my parents in Kenya, and I had this idea for Travel for Purpose, but it was completely out of the vision of what my life trajectory looked like. Mm-hmm. But there was this fuel that came out of nowhere. Literally, I felt so like it's just meant to be. And yeah, I went for it. I actually started planning it pre-pandemic, and then the pandemic happened. We all know travel basically died. And it was like, do I or do I not? Like it feels, everyone was telling me do not leave a safe job and start something that's so risky. But I just had this fuel burning in me and I was like, I know there's something here. And if I don't do it now, maybe it will never happen. So I think that was my biggest reset. Coming back home to Kenya, starting something that I was unfamiliar with in many ways, the travel industry, and resetting my entire life with this unknown fuel within me.
Mm-hmm. In that first year of doing that, because I love that you said, did you say calculated or calculated risk taker?
I said calculated.
But you're like, I just like moved everything and left. Okay. So we'll combine them because I think you were calculated, but you did take big risks there. I think the first year, I mean, I can look in the past like decade plus of what we've done and what I've done. And I think there's like, okay, the first year, then 5 years, I don't know. There's always these kind of seasons of like, okay, what's next? Or why am I feeling this way or uncertainty? But in that first year, it's almost, I feel like maybe a 3-month slump where you're like, what did I do? Did you ever hit that or like kind of a mental block throughout that year of really trying to still, figure out and capture the vision and walk towards that? And if you did hit that, what were some like practical like things you did to walk through that season?
Sure. I don't think I hit it completely in the way you describe, but I did hit certain times where I had a vision for travel for purpose, but the demand was completely different. Naturally, things shift, in business, you have to be so agile and be able to go with demand flow. So there were scenarios where when I started travel for purpose, I was like, even if I have 4 travelers and they travel authentically with sustainable practices, I'm happy. Little did I know that makes no financial sense. There was no way we would survive. So a lot more had to come into the whole puzzle, as you say. And there were also times where like safaris, because safari is the biggest thing people come to Kenya for. But for me, it was how can people see the Kenyan coast beyond the 4 walls of the hotel? How can they really immerse themselves in local lifestyle? How can they speak to and communicate and learn from the amazing locals that there are on the coast? Which we predominantly still do, but then everyone was asking for safaris and other kind of travels that we didn't do at that time. But then we had to start to say, okay, let's explore this area and let's see what we can create still with our vision and our mindset of ethical, responsible travel.
I love that. I think pivoting, well, how do I phrase this? I don't know if pivoting is hard. I think it's the realization of adjustment. Like you have a very clear vision and you see it through, or you want to see it through in this way. And yet you're like, again, the money situation of like, okay, this might not make complete financial sense. How can I actually listen to the demand? I was telling our team recently, because we have Sham, we have a lot of SKUs, we have a lot of products, and we're having to be a little bit more smarter with our direction and what's kind of happening. And in fact, we did a big shift of shutting down our e-commerce in the States just recently. And a lot of people will look at it and be like, well, why'd you do that? You grew this global brand and did in X, Y, and Z. But where they weren't seeing behind the scenes is all the overhead and the expenses. And like at the end of the day, that brand might be beautiful and might have tens of thousands of followers. And we built it. And yet we're in the red in that brand, right? And then on this other side, we're seeing traction of people coming to us and just in East Africa and really, floating into that. And so I think a lot of it, when I think of it also energy, and I think of doors closing and doors opening, us really paying attention to that. And for the last couple of years, I felt like, man, I was just trying. I think investment had a lot to do with it. You don't want to disappoint people, but trying to like push something that just wasn't the narrative anymore. But it didn't mean that our company as a whole or our impact or whatnot, was failing. It just was shifting. And so in your life, circle back to you. When you look at even transitioning and starting Travel for Purpose, or even before, even in your childhood or before that or in college, where are some moments where you saw very clear closed doors where you're like, okay, I'm going to have to sit here. Maybe this is an overwhelming season, but reset my mind and my path and take another look or perspective at my life right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One that really stands out is during when I was applying for university, I was very much applying for very business management kind of degrees. And a new course came up in the university I went to, Warwick University, and it had an element of tech and computing, which is something that I was never really interested in until I was like, okay, this sounds. It was very innovation based, which I think was what caught my eye. So I went for it, and it opened up so many doors. And is this answering your question?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it opened up so many doors in terms of the whole. So I ended up actually working in fintech, number one. Number two is because it was a new course, they were so flexible, and I was able to do a year abroad. So I studied for a semester in Hong Kong and a semester in Melbourne, Australia. And that opened up my entire world because before that, especially from the travel perspective, my parents were so busy they didn't take us on too many holidays. And if we did go on holiday, it was very much a resort, kind of all-inclusive, sticking it in one space. And we didn't really go out and see the culture and see... do what basically Travel for Purpose does now.
Yeah.
And when I went on my year abroad, I managed to travel to 14 countries within that 1 year.
Wow.
And because I was on a budget and because I basically realized how rich local travel is. So staying in homestays, really connecting with the locals, doing local workshops and experiences. I started doing that during this year abroad, which opened up my entire travel lens and vision. And ever since then, I've been traveling in this way. And that's when I came to Kenya and I was like, okay, I'm Kenyan, but I don't know what rural life looks like. So I tried to seek out an opportunity to go rural and experience that sort of lifestyle. And I couldn't find a safe or trustworthy way to do so. And then I realized, I was like, okay, how are people traveling when they come to Kenya? And everyone is doing the same beaten path route. They're going through the safaris and then they're coming to the coast. And as I said, they're just staying within the four walls of their hotel and basically sitting on a sunbed. How can we get people to travel authentically and see Kenya for what it really is, which is it's such a beautiful country. The people are so wonderful and there's so much to do. So, yeah.
What is, you answered it opposite, but I love it. I love it because I was like, what closed doors pushed you this way?
I was like,
and you're
I'm
like,
opening that.
this is an open door and I'm walking through it and it changed my life. No, but even in that, like that was a reset of your mind of what travel looked like because you walked through that door, you got to see a different perspective and it really is what got you to this couch today, us talking about. Okay, so when your customers, I'm curious when they come to you, what is first of all, they're already searching some keywords that I would assume lead them to you. But what are some biggest like aha moments they have when they're on tour with you, when you're taking them to spaces? And that just lights you up because you get to show them these spaces.
Yep. I think, there's so many. We have about 45 experiences around Kenya now.
I did not know that. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, quite a few. I think one of the ones that people always light up on is our Swahili cooking class, which happens just outside of Watamu in Meter Creek in a local village. It's a Giriama village, very authentic and wonderful. And you know how good Swahili food is, but it's so much fun to make. Like actually grinding the coconut yourself, squeezing the coconut milk out. There's so many steps to it, which isn't in Western cooking. So it's a whole different kind of way of cooking and experiencing the process. Another one that people love is a Mombasa city tour. Have you met Tyson?
No.
Main guy. Okay, you need to meet him.
I just am like I'm taking mental notes because it's like I live in these spaces, I have this food, and yet I'm like I need to slow down. I think this act of slowing down and just your own life and like seeing your own city in a different perspective.
It's special.
This is my next to do with you is like doing some of these. Yeah.
Done. Tyson is an incredible guide, and he just lights rooms, entire towns up. Like, he is just amazing. People love the city tour, and I think people come to Mombasa, they don't really expect much from the town, but it's so rich in culture, as you know, in history and architecture. So that's beautiful. And another one is in our safaris, we give all our travelers something called a happiness in a bag. And that bag they can give to anyone they connect with and feel is deserving of it. And it's our way of having some impact in these rural areas where national parks usually are. And yeah, that bag will feed a family of, on average, 5 people for a few weeks.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it's because a lot of communities around national parks don't benefit from the tourism, unfortunately. So yes, how can we have our little impact beyond the workshops and the community visits we do? So that's something travelers really enjoy, and it gets them to speak to people that maybe they wouldn't usually speak to.
Yeah, you're just spreading radical generosity in a really beautiful way. I really like that. That's awesome. Okay, so what is something you are just built, like, maybe you can tell us, maybe not, but something that you might be building right now that you're really excited about?
Oh, okay. Oh, so much.
So much. I feel like anyone in the seat when I ask this question, like, you can tell we're like, again, ideators, creators, entrepreneurs are like, we're always doing so much. Which one am I going to share? Yeah.
It's like your mind almost goes blank, but you're like, there's so much.
Yes.
Okay. Something that we started last year is special occasions. So we've started doing a lot of proposals and honeymoons and anniversaries. So whether it's full itineraries based around that or just like that specific proposal celebration, not really a celebration, but event, I guess. So the setup and all of that. So we do really want to take that to the next level, and just these special moments are they're so high pressure, but they're also so fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one, taking special occasions to the next level. Another one is impact. I think there's so much more we can do. And I want to really create certain projects that people, that our travelers, when they come to Kenya, they can see for themselves. But yeah, we do reusable pads, so sanitary pads to rural areas with workshops and just general sharing goodness.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of tree planting, mainly mangroves. And we have a few other projects, but I think there's a lot of scope to really, like, now, beyond our experiences and beyond our trips and the impact we're having on our guys, etc., hone in on a few projects. So yes, in the next year, or hopefully by the end of this year, we'll have some really solid projects. And I'd love to speak to you about that as well, because I think you're doing amazing stuff. I see you in Turkana, and I'm like,
yeah. Have you ever been?
No.
Yes, it's
high on my list.
Yeah, well, maybe we go up there quite often, and I have people that are like, "Oh, tell me when you go up there." So next time we go, I'll let you know.
Done.
Yeah. No, we love that. I think there's a side of impact. So my methodology and what we do is always, let's not just create Band-Aid solutions, right? But also let's try to find sustainable solutions. And so Turkana can be hard because there are some really just hard places that you go to and you're like, this is actually very difficult to see a solution. So yes, we're going to do food relief. And yes, we see that. And yes, we know that's going to feed them for a month. And then what now? And so, yeah, we're working on a couple like economic hubs, or how can we at least prepare them in advance, to be like, okay, next time I come, we will, maybe purchase all of these baskets. But then also for us on the, retail side, or even when we're designing, how do you purchase and support and have the quality of product that you need? And in my other side of just methodology is believing in consistency. So I never want to go into a community and give them false hope that we're always going to come back, or unless we are going to, partner with them for a month at a time. And so I think with your impact and finding projects, like that's what's really beautiful. I think when businesses can find that value base of what they do, share it with their customer, and stay consistent with that partner, because so many people doing good, sometimes I think those community partners will end up getting hurt in the end if there's not the consistency. So consistency is such a key value in my life of how are we showing up with excellence, consistency, and community, and really being present in that way. And I really believe in what I've seen with Travel for Purpose and what you're doing, that there's just this value of one community, but not just locally, but what you're trying to bring to the global community to open their eyes, where they can be curious, where they can learn, where they can grow. I think as we travel, I also liked, if we go back to when you were talking about when you studied abroad, because I think when you can step into a place with curiosity and be humble and have that culture of humility, that changes how travel is. You see those people who come in and, we won't say anything about Americans being loud or anything, but, step into spaces and really are not honoring to what's going on, or even aware of what's going on around them. And if we can even be part of that story and teach travelers how to have that culture of humility, how to learn, is so beautiful. And so that's what I love watching and observing. We get the privilege of being in Old Town and having people, come by our workshops. And I think the biggest thing for me is how can we be push forward and be innovative, and yet still respect that we are in a cultural site, that we are restoring buildings, that we're having dignity to what's here and not wanting to change it, but immerse and be a part of it. Sure. And so I think just even hearing about, the cooking classes with the Giriyama and doing that, I'm like, oh, what a beautiful way to honor them and let people have such a unique story and memory, to take back. Anyways, that's my reflection on,
beautiful.
You in a bit. But as you started Travel for Purpose too, I always look back and think, okay, in my journey, would I do anything differently, or what? And maybe if I didn't do anything differently, what? I think reflection is always a key point of what did I learn. So that's my question to you. Would you have done anything differently in just the start of it? And if not, and if so, but what's some lessons you've learned in the process so far?
Sure. Would I have done anything differently? I think when I look back, I wouldn't, because even things that didn't go to plan, as you said, there's always lessons within them. So those lessons have showcased a lot within them. If I can give you an example, trying to think. I think I came in, as I said, with a really clear vision of what Travel for Purpose looks like for me.
Mm-hmm.
But what was actually demanded was sometimes different. So over time, we have, as I said, changed and flowed with the demand. I think my health basically deteriorated for a while, and I think I've always just tried to forget a lot of those chunks and try to erase them. So I think that's why maybe I'm struggling.
There's a story in that as well too. I think I talk in my life, there's a lot of trauma points or things where, even when my parents got divorced or health issues, and I look back and I don't remember any of those years. Yeah. So, but with that, I think that also shows, one, stuff's happening, and yet you're still here. There's resiliency of you even getting through those seasons. But I think as leaders, we can always learn from that. It's just really interesting. What I find sometimes disheartening about seasons like that is there was joy in those and happy moments too. And yet you're like, oh,
They've been overcasted by.
yeah. So with that, how are you doing now?
Yeah, so much
Good.
better. I just came back from some health treatments, which I'm very grateful for, and doing so much better. I feel like I've coming out of a corpse after a few years, and I'm starting to feel like myself.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I can speak about that if you...
Yeah, I would love that. Because I think that's also, when different things hit, like I won't divulge into it. It's not time for that for last year. But when things happened last year, my health deteriorated a bit with it too. And I ended up in the hospital and things like that because of stress and induced and whatnot. And so I would love to, if you want to touch on that a little bit of just how you had to reprioritize, again, that's a different reset, a different season of reset, and had to reprioritize that chapter and maybe, slow down a couple things to get to where you are right now.
Yeah, sure. Should I just go off
with
the old question?
Yeah.
So something that happened, to be fair, pretty early on, I had a skin condition through, long story short, but eczema, and using steroids on my eczema, steroid creams, which a lot of doctors do prescribe. And when I stopped that, my body withdrawed, and I have a condition called tropical steroid withdrawal. So with that, a lot of environments were triggering my skin and my health. So things drastically had to slow down. So I was on the field, creating new experiences, meeting our current partners, maybe every week, if not every other week. Eventually that had to stop altogether because every time I go out, it was pushing me back, essentially. So not going out on field, not meeting our partners, and not being able to create new trips was the biggest joy that I actually felt with the day-to-day business. And so that was really tough to pause, but then also not create new trips and to have things flourishing and moving forward. It was almost whatever we kind of had in our service base is what we carried on with. Having said that, I'm so grateful because Travel for Purpose, I think you would understand, as an entrepreneur, you have to keep going. There's no question about stopping. So it's actually what made me excited to get out of bed, made me excited to start the day. And it felt like I had a purpose each day, despite not feeling great at all, generally. So yeah, I think as a entrepreneur, a lot of other entrepreneurs I speak to, and I know you're exposed as well, like we hit downfalls and we hit things where your body almost tells you like, slow the fuck down.
Yeah.
And you have to listen because health comes first. And it was a really big lesson because without health, there's nothing.
Yeah.
But also it really manifested within me that the Travel for Purpose and what I'm doing has so much value. And it's what kept me going. I think if I was still in my corporate job, I would have almost just, I don't know, I wouldn't have that oomph to keep going, essentially.
Zest, that zeal.
Yeah. That word. So that was a big part and a big chunk of the startup journey. And I'm just now, over the last couple of months, getting much better and really excited to get back out on field and start creating new experiences and just get the ball rolling again.
Yeah.
But I feel so much more energized now. I also think everything happens for a reason, in all honesty. The fact that I did have to pause and I was very much behind the screen and doing day-to-day stuff behind a screen also taught me a lot. And it's been able to now transition that into this new phase of creating and growing and
Yeah.
expansion.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing. I think it's there's this point, especially for entrepreneurs. We talk to leaders, entrepreneurs, a lot of different people in this podcast, but especially in the entrepreneurial journey, I don't necessarily think we talk about ourselves in a sense of health that much. Like we're like, okay, like what are our numbers? What's the projections? What's the failures? How did I learn? How did I pivot? And yet in all of that, most people got sick or like they're running themselves ragged or they're burnout. And our bodies are really powerful. They were built and created to signal and tell us things. And yet we really like to be stubborn and not listen to them sometimes.
I think there's also a lot of pressure
Yeah.
to show up as a strong human that has created something and your personality needs to align to that almost.
Yeah.
In the entrepreneur world.
Yeah.
But it's okay not to, because I think everyone is sometimes trying to be something because of not the status, but because of the position that they hold.
Yeah.
And what they're known for. So.
Yeah. What would you say one value, if anything, has followed you through your whole journey, almost since childhood, of just hasn't changed, even though maybe you've changed, your career changer, the hat or the identity people see you as has maybe shifted, but what's a value that has always been with you?
I think I am very empathetic, and that's a positive thing, but it's also a curse because I feel a lot. And that comes into the business quite a bit because everything that we do is based on impact and creating opportunities. But it's also beautiful because I feel like I connect and I can connect with people very deeply, very quickly. Yeah, it's not about the small talk. It's about, okay, let's actually get to know you.
Yeah, we're a lot the same. I'm like, why are we talking surface?
Exactly. Yeah. But also when, like, strangers, like, everyone has such amazing stories, amazing stories. And being able to connect human to human, I think, is one of the biggest gifts we have as a human. So, yeah, I think that's something that I've taken from, and I think that comes a lot from my mother. She's a very human, and it's something that I've learned from her, and I take through.
I love that. As we end together today, I know it goes so fast. People don't realize how fast these go. I love to end with just kind of one last piece of advice. And so, like I mentioned, reset can be in even a mountaintop moment or a valley moment. But if someone's in this kind of setting up, anyone listening who might be in a position that is just like, man, I'm not sure what to do, and this what's before might be really scary and unknown, what's some advice you could give them today?
I would say connect with your inner self. If there's this unknown fuel that I felt, I'm sure other people feel that. Notice if you feel a sense of excitement, a sense of joy, a sense of just, yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
And if you do, go for it. You may know, you won't know what it looks like, but just go for it. And the journey is beautiful. Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough, and it's definitely unexpected. But all in all, it is wonderful. So just go for it and press that reset button.
Sham, thank you so much for being here today. Everyone, this is Moxie Uncut. This the reset season, refining, realigning, and rebuilding. And as always, friends, Moxie on.
Thanks for being here with me on Moxie Uncut. If something stayed with you, please pass it on. These stories are meant to be shared. And if you're in a season of rebuilding or becoming, then just keep going. I'll see you here next week.